Let's go live, guys. Okay, good evening, one and all. Welcome to our effective interview skills. So today we're going to be looking at how do we crack that interview. Yesterday we looked at building our resume. Now I gave you a few tips. I hope you remember them. Please practice them and use them to create your resume. You would have also taken a few pictures of the words that you need to ensure are there in your resume. Along with that, please also ensure that you've got words from the job description, which I will be talking about today. So let's get started. Thank you so much for being here in my session. And I hope you're live on all the different social platforms, social media platforms, Rachna, because I can see that it's live here. So I will just continue, assuming that everybody can kind of hear me here. So let's just continue with this. Okay, so let's look at what's on the next slide. They're live on all the different social platforms, social media platforms. Yes, so I could just hear my voice again. So let's just get started. Now, how many times have you seen this sign, right? Vacancy, people wanted, we are hiring. It's very exciting when you see that, right? Especially when you're looking for jobs. So let's look at what's in store today. Now, today we're going to be looking at how do you prepare for an interview, okay? So first thing, like we had seen in our resume building, you need to research the company, okay? Then you need to analyze the job description. Remember, I spoke about this job description and I said you need to include words from it in your resume, correct? So we'll understand that as we move ahead. Then brush up the basics. Now, what job description are we talking about? Obviously, the job that you're applying for, right? There will be a certain description. Now, how do you know if you're the best fit for the job? It's only if your skills match that job description. And then we need to brush up the basics. What do we mean by brushing up the basics? Now, for example, you're applying for a technical role. The technical role requires you to know certain skills. You've got them in your university. You've studied them in some project some time back. Right now, you need these skills. So if you've got a little time between the interview and your application, please go ahead and brush up those basics. Catch up, learn the new trends, learn the new skills and techniques, and brush up what you have already learned in the past. Then, okay, and then prepare for any tests. Now, sometimes when you're doing an interview, you could be also asked as part of your rounds of just, when they question you, they could also be giving you a written test. Like, for example, when we hire people in my company, 360DigiTMG, we have the design team, right? So the design team goes through certain tests. They have to prove that they are up on a certain caliber. They have to do the test and send their results. The results are then checked. And that's when we decide, okay, this person is ready for the job. So if you have such kinds of technical tests, please be prepared. Okay. And then we look at preparing for potential interview questions. In this session, we're going to be looking at it. And we will be using something called an elevator pitch. If you remember when I spoke about your resume building in yesterday's class, I also did mention that somewhere on the top, you will write down a little bit about yourself and where your interests lie. And that should be in the form of an elevator pitch. Now, an elevator pitch is also used to introduce yourself when you go for that interview. So we will look at that. Now, STAR technique is a technique that we can use, when you are answering interview questions. Okay, so we look at that also. Okay, and last but not least, please be punctual at the interview. The worst thing is if your resume is bad, and even worse than that is if you're late for the interview, right? So be punctual. Okay. Now, researching a suitable job, we said, right? Researching. Now, you need to research the company well in advance. I have asked these questions myself when I interview people. What do you know about our company? Correct? Therefore, it's very, very crucial for you to know and understand the company well in advance. Know also what interests you and where your strengths lie. So remember, we spoke about SWOT analysis when we are preparing our resume. We look at our strengths, our weaknesses. Then we look at what opportunities there are out there, right? So researching for jobs. And then when you pick the right job, research the company. Because we also said you need to look for threats, right? How do you find out threats? Be an active listener. Ask around. Ask your friends. Ask people who are in the industry. Read about it. Google can give you a lot of information, especially if it's a publicly listed company. You can get to know about their shareholders. You can get to know about their acquisitions. You can get to know about their performance. Find out about their performance. And then learn how to do small talk, right? Because in an interview, you will have to say, hello, ma'am. How are you doing, ma'am? How are you doing, sir? Right? And in the end, you have to wish them well. Display empathy. What does empathy mean? Place yourself in the other person's shoes. Try and understand the questions from their viewpoint. Now, when we were building our resume, I asked you to look at your strengths and your weaknesses. Because every recruiter will want to know your weakness. Strengths, great. That shows that you're a good fit for the company. But what are your weaknesses? Right? I'd like to understand that, because then I would know that this is where I need to help you. This is where I need to coach you. And if you know your weakness, I also know that's the first step in working on your weakness and progressing your weaknesses into your strengths. Right? So understand that, understand why the interviewer is asking you certain questions. Display empathy. Exhibit genuine curiosity. Ask questions about different companies and the job role you're interested in. Talk to your friends. What kind of roles are there in your company? Talk to your previous colleagues. Talk to your friends of friends. Search up LinkedIn, right? Sometimes people advertise on Facebook also. Search that up. Find out about the company. Research suitable jobs. Cool? Okay. No questions so far. I'm going to move on. Okay. Now we're looking at how do we research that company. So, couple of things you need to do. Peruse the company website. Every company has their website, right? If you Google search, you will get a lot of responses. Like if you Google search 360DigiTMG, you will get a lot of responses. But one of them will be the actual website. So click on the website of the company, go and check it. When you go and check it, you will need to review the corporate blog. Sometimes they could have a corporate blog. Read what the employees are saying about the company. Read what their shareholders are saying about the company, right? You can get very good knowledge. Just like how I know a lot of you guys, when you buy a product, before you buy the product, do you not go and see how good the product is? You do, right? You look at the comments. Similarly, on a company website, you'll be able to read the corporate blogs. They might sometimes have blogs for their employees, or they will have comments. What do employees say? Get on to social media. So this is our social media page, right? This is how it looks. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Get onto it, Instagram, and research the company. You will get details on all these platforms. Identify their main competitors, because when you identify the competitors of a company, you get to know what the company does. You get to know how big the company is, right? Because the competitors are big. You get to know how much money is there in the market. So you definitely get to know that you'll be paid well, correct? So identify the main competitors. This is how you become smart and clever about finding your own jobs. Determine the company's main differentiators. When we say differentiators, when you go onto the company website, you'll be able to see the different parallels or the pillars of the company, right? Their main differentiators, such as finance, sales, learning, support, HR, etc. For example. So find out the company's main differentiators. Now, why do you need to do that? Just so that you can find an area of interest for yourself, right? You can find the perfect job for yourself. Remember, it's not all about going for the first job that comes your way. Okay. Okay. Then review corporate finance. Sorry, I missed that. Review your corporate finance. Like I said, on the website, public listed companies can give you all this information, how they're doing, what their finance looks like, what are their shareholders market, how much they're earning, how many shares in the market you can get to know. If it's a small company, you may or may not get to know the finance, right? But you can talk to people. Look for red flags on review websites. Like, for example, what do we mean by red flags? Now, I spoke about in SWOT, I spoke about threats, right? These are the threats. Red flags on the website, such as acquisitions. Now, if the company is acquiring another company, that's good for the company. But if another company is acquiring this company that you're applying in, that's not so good. Because in such cases, a lot of people might lose their jobs. Processes might get closed down because you're being taken over by another company. Look for other red flags, like how many people have lost their job in the past 6 months. So what are the finances of the company? You can see that on different social media platforms. That will also tell you in the news, for example, that like I'll give you an example. Sometime last year, beginning of last year, or at the end of 2020, HSBC, the bank, that was my previous company, HSBC, the bank, laid off 35,000 people. Now, even before we got to know from our bosses or friends, etc., we read about it in the news. The news started printing this information, HSBC to lay off 35,000 jobs, right? HSBC is putting on hold their plan of laying down 35,000 jobs due to COVID, for example. Now, these are all red flags. You've got to be really careful because, like I said, if you're last in, you'll be the first out. So just be a little careful before you decide to join such companies. And of course, check salary data. If you can see the corporate finance, you can see how much roughly people are being paid, you will have an idea of how much you will be paid. What does the starting pay look like if you're a fresh graduate, right? If you are so many years in the market, how much should you get? I've seen a lot of people who think that they can inflate how much they are earning just by their skills. Now, I agree with you. Your skills matter. More skills you have, ideally, that's how much you should be paid. However, your education also matters. Where you get your education from. You'll get paid more depending upon the institute that you've graduated from. You will get paid more if you have more experience in the market, right? Otherwise, you will see, look at a regular starting pay for everybody who just joins a company. They will have, every company has a certain range. starting pay for a company, say, for example, if they're paying 12,000 to 15,000, there'll be a range. The next level will be 16,000 to say 20,000 range. Then the third level, it's like that. So you can check this out. You can even talk to people about the salary building. Cool. Okay. Right. Let's move on. Okay. Now, the next bit was analyzing the job description. Now, that's a very key bit, guys. Please remember, you have to analyze the job description, because if you don't do it, you will never know, right? What's the job you're applying for? Understand the role and position applied for. Study the job description. At times when you apply on LinkedIn, apply online, you don't see the job description. Therefore, before you submit your application, go and check what the job description looks like. And I'll tell you why you need to do that. Study the job description. Connect with current and past employees. Ask them, okay, what is this role about? Do you have a job description of that company? Can you send it to me if you can't find it? And then you need to map your resume with the job description. The words which appear in the job description, you should have it in your resume. Rehearse explaining your resume. You have to practice it before you go on the interview. You also need to identify and leverage your selling points. What does that mean? What does leverage your selling points mean? Now, just like any product, right? When I go to the market, why will I buy a Lakme product versus Mama Earth, for example? What is it that makes me choose Lakme over Mama Earth? What is the unique selling point of Lakme, right? Just like that, each of us has a unique selling point. Why should the interviewer pick me over hundreds of others? So identify first through SWOT. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Identify your own selling points. Then map out examples of your relevant skill and experience. Like I said, guys, you cannot put in skills if you don't have them. You have to have some experience with each of the skills. Even if it's from college. Where have you used that skills in a project in your university? Where have you used those skills while playing a game in your university? Right? Think of that and map out examples from your relevant skills and experience. Now, the key word is relevant. What do you mean by that? Relevant skills. That means, what does that mean? That means what is relevant to the job at hand, right? Not what you think is relevant. I have got interview skills as my main skill, but I'm applying for a data science job. Is that relevant? Is the interviewing skills relevant for data science? No. I need to have data science in my resume, correct? So what is the nearest skill I can have which maps to data science? Maybe my maths graduation, maybe the subjects I did in graduation. Think of examples where you have used those skills and put it in your resume. Now, these are the certain questions that I will ask you here. Now, you need to think of them before you apply. Think of what do you bring to the table? What makes you stand out from the others? What distinguishes you from the others? And what makes you the best candidate for the job? Answer these three questions. When you've got your answers to these questions, you have identified and leveraged your selling point. You then need to use it when you are introducing yourself. I think I'm the best person for the job because I have got the skill, and the skill, right? What do I bring to the table? What makes me different from the others, distinguishes me from others? and what makes me the best candidate? Write down these questions, guys, because I want you to get the answers to it before we go for your next interview. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Let's move on because we just got about 10 minutes more. Okay. So once you've mapped, once you looked at the job description, looked at your skills, try to map them to job description. You have looked at live examples for each of those skills. Prepare and practice your answers without memorizing. Right? Quickly go through it. Write it a number of times so it comes naturally to you. Study the important and common interview questions. Jot down relevant points against each response so it's handy. So take your resume, circle the skill which maps the job description. Write down one example there. Write down 1 or 2 points of what you're going to say. Keep it handy. You can walk into the interview with that sheet. Practice saying your answers using these points. Now, rehearse explaining your resume. Review your resume and cover letter. Guys, I hope you know what a cover letter is. I've seen a lot of interviews where nobody sends their cover letter. Cover letter basically is a list of all your skills because resume has everything, right? So cover letter is just a shorter version of your resume. It's a short synopsis of your skills. The skills which are pertinent to the job description. I have seen your job description for the role of sales agent, and my skills are a perfect match for your job. My skills are listed below. Thanking you. Just 1 page, cover letter. Review your resume and cover letter. Make sure you are aware of what is there in the letter. That's why I'm telling you, create your resumes from scratch. Don't use a resume builder because most times you don't know what goes into your resume, right? Be well versed with what is mentioned and practice before that interview. Read through your resume, right? Yeah, exactly. So the class is uploaded on LMS. Yes, Brad. That's right. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. So moving on. How do you brush up the basics, right? You have to ready yourself for the job. Try to prepare every single aspect. So most people, what they do is they look at the technical skill which is required and they try to go through all those skills. Now that will be very tough, right? Especially last minute, you can't remember all the technical skills. So pace yourself, plan accordingly, right? I've got 5 days to my interview. I've got 5 skills. So let me practice 1 skill per day. Example, pace yourself and plan accordingly. Focus on both the technical and the practical aspects. So these are my technical skills, but how do I use it practically? Because remember, a lot of you, if you're fresh from college, you have learned these skills, but have you practiced them? This is what the interviewer is going to look for. Now they understand that you are freshers. They understand that you've not had the experience of the skill. However, there's nothing to stop you from thinking, what is the practical aspect of this skill? How can I use it at my work? This is the job description. Can I use my skill here? That's why you map your skill to the job description. So you understand where you can use your skill for that job. So practical aspects, focus on both sides of it. So you can talk to them about it. And then hone your skills. So sharpen your basics and initial skills. It is very significant. It's extremely important, right? Concepts of like say data mining, data visualization, mathematical terms or concepts, just brush it up. At 360, we have a lot of classes, don't we? So go for those doubt sessions, brush up your skills. Learn something, maybe you learned it 3 months ago, 4 months ago. You've forgotten it now. Go to your trainer, go to your professor, ask them, okay, questions. Any questions? Please brush up your skills, right? So it's relevant. And it'll help you when they give that test, written test, if they do. Okay. Now, here are a few rounds of interviews. Okay. We have the initial interview, okay, which could be on the phone. To be the recruiter, HR person, right? So first round, they will just ask you a few questions. Okay, yeah, what's your name? Where do you stay? What do you do? Okay, what skill do you have? How many years of experience? Okay. First round is screening. Okay, so it's information. And it's an exploratory face-to-face meeting with a professional. It could also be with a professional, such as a video call, right? Looking to gain an insight into your career path and experience. Okay, I'll call you now and I'll say, can I fix a video call with you tomorrow? Because I would like to get to know you a little better. So they will look at you and they see, they identify, okay, is this the person I'm interviewing? Kavita, right? Kavita, okay, tell me a little about yourself. What's your career path? What is your experience? Right? First round, initial round. So what do you need to do? You have to do your research. Find out who is going to interview me. What's my initial round? Is it at the office? Or is it just a phone call? What do I need to do? Because most times they will let you know, right? They will send you an email. Now, if they don't send you an email and they call you, of course, you cannot really be, be prepared. However, I'll tell you to stop you from Google searching. Okay, which company do you say you're calling up from? 360. Okay, quickly Google 360 Digit. Yes, I do know. I've read about your company. I'm very interested in joining your company. Right? Do your research. Final interviews. Okay, it could be in a video if it's a remote kind of job. Yeah. Employers, teams working remotely, you'll have a video call. You could also have a group discussion, right? Group discussions used to be very prevalent at some point in time. Some recruiters still use this method. Have you seen it? So what they do is they call several job seekers together, right? Yeah, Pawan, I get that. You've applied for many jobs on different platforms. None of them have called. So I will tell you something about follow-up. That is something that you need to know and you will get to know as you reach towards the end of the session, follow-up, right? So group interviews, several job seekers together, they'll ask you a question and they want to see how you react. It could be a stressful situation. In the group, sometimes they're very difficult because each one is trying to answer and they'll be looking for different skills, leadership skills, team management, time management, etc. Or, which is very common, you can have a panel interview. Several people sitting, several interviewers, group setting, 3-4 people sitting, talking to you, asking you questions. Now, the main thing is don't lose your cool, very calmly, maintain eye contact with each person. Calmly answer each person. You will be allowed, guys, allowed to take a paper in, you will be allowed to take a pen in. And please, if you struggle to get the question, say, I would like to note down the question. I would like to write down the question. And then face them, look them in the eye and answer that question one by one, right? Read all about it. Do not get nervous. Okay. Now, these are the most likely questions asked. You can take a picture. Tell me about yourself. Why should I hire you? Tell me your biggest strength. Tell me your biggest weakness, right? Different kind of questions. Quickly take a picture. I'm going to move on to follow up. Okay. Have you seen this? I think it's taking a little time to change on the platforms. Okay, most likely questions asked. Right, yeah, it's changing. Please take a picture of this so that I can move on. Okay, moving on. Okay, to an elevator pitch. Okay, quickly. An elevator pitch is also called an elevator speech, right? You see these people, 2 people sitting in an elevator. It's a brief and concise speech. It tells us who you are, what you do, and what you want to achieve, right? Short. Hi, I'm Kavita. I work as the head of HR and learning in 360DigiTMG. I would like to move up in the company. Tell us who you are, what you do, and what you want to achieve. It is named as an elevator pitch because it is short and compelling enough to introduce yourself in an elevator. Can you imagine you get into an elevator with your CEO and he asks you, who are you? You should be prepared to answer that. Who are you? What do you do? What do you want to achieve? Elevator pitch is a great way to share your credentials and expertise quickly. So you need to prepare this. Know what you want to achieve. Identify, set your goal. For example, I'm looking for a job to the hiring manager, right? So this is my goal. I'm looking for a job in your company, right? Say something about what you do. I worked in HSBC as the head of HR and learning. We used to take care of, you were a banking sector, we used to take care of international customers. Say something about what you do. Explain your expertise and skill sets. I'm great in communications because I've delivered several classes, right? Know your unique selling proposition. I'm applying for a sales role. So what should I be saying? I'm excellent in communicating with customers and I'm easily able to make friends. I can convince the customers to buy my product. That's unique about me, right? What can I contribute to the company? What problems can you solve? All of this comes in your elevator pitch. And then put it all together. Know what you want to achieve. Say something about what you do. And know your unique selling point. Ensure it's short, straightforward, and compelling. And it should not last more than 30 seconds. Now, what I want you guys to do is write down your elevator pitch. Take a note of these questions. Take a picture quickly. I'm moving on to the next slide. Write it down and practice reading it. And then time yourself for 30 seconds. It should come naturally to you. Okay. Moving on. Okay, put it all together. Right. Okay. Cool. Practice delivering your pitch. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Moving on. It should sound smooth and hard and natural, not a hard sell. It should not sound like you've practiced it. It should come naturally. Okay. Now, the STAR technique, we've almost done with the session, but the STAR technique is a way to answer your questions. When you answer, you have to describe the situation. You have to then talk about what is the task, what were you asked to do, what did you do, and what was the result, right? Every task, every answer should come in this manner. You should talk about the situation. Why did you have to do it? What did you do? What was the result? What was the actual action you took and what was the result? For example, can you give me an example of how you dealt with conflict? Okay. There was a situation where two people were fighting in my team. So I was asked to intervene and try and stop them. So what I did was I spoke to each one of them individually. I then brought them together in a room and I asked them to thrash down. I was then able to stop it and as a result, came up with a good ending. Everybody was happy. Using STAR. Some more questions. Describe a stressful situation and how you handled it. Give me an example of how you've shown initiative. This is also some questions which can be asked. Take a picture of this. Okay. Cool. Okay. So this is what you need to do. For your interview, you need to write down, find your skills using SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Practice your elevator pitch. Practice your answers using STAR. Some more questions. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you handled it. Tell me about a time you had to deal with an angry customer. When have you handled huge pressure? Get answers to all of these questions, right? So this is your STAR, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. So this is SWOT. You can make your SWOT like this. What are strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? right? And then you have the star technique. Practice your elevator pitch. Okay. Take a picture of this. So elevator pitch should be know what you want to achieve, say something about what you do, your skills, etc. Know your unique selling proposition, then write it down, put it all together, and then practice delivering your pitch. Cool. Any questions? Okay. Now, before I end, I know some of you asked, you don't get, you searched a lot of job portals. Well, freshers basically can join any company, but you've got to look for somebody that says entry level, right? Entry level job. Now, if you're unable to find jobs which say entry level, some of them require experience. Gain your experience by doing projects. Now, with projects, as you're aware, 360DigiTMG, we place students, right? Students join us. We take you through our training program. We provide you mock interviews, right? We provide you this training because it's up on AI Spry. We then help you with your building your resume, and then we place you, right? So we place you in different companies. We give you the opportunities of getting interviewed. Now, so that way you can definitely get a job. Get your experience by doing projects. That's a wonderful way of gaining experience. Live projects, right? Different companies. What you can also do is, how do you follow up? So when you've taken an interview, when they've called you for an interview, please send an email back to the interviewer. Get the name of the interviewer. That's why I said it's very important. Do your research, get the name of the interviewer. Some websites even have the email addresses of interviewers. Get their email address, write back to them after your interview, thanking them for that opportunity, so they don't forget you. Because you got to remember, an interviewer is doing so many interviews, right? Okay. Excellent. Yes, you've completed 2 projects, Pavan. Yes, you can use that as a professional experience. You can say it's an internship. Internship is also work, isn't it? So you can quote that in your resume. Yeah. Pavan, if they've not called you back, then please make sure that you call them back, right? Call them up and say, check the website, find out the numbers, call them back and say, okay, I applied for this. Can I get a status update? Please don't wait for too long. If you've applied today, give them a day or 2. But follow-up has to be done the same way, same day, within 24 hours to send them an email. Yeah. So Venkat, yes, it's on AI Spry. Any other questions, guys? Because we've come to an end of our session. Okay. So if there are no other, okay, Vipin is asking people who have a gap of 5 to 6 years. So if you've got a gap of 5 to 6 years, what have you done in that gap? It's a question which is bound to come up, Vipin. They will ask you what you've done. Most people want people who have got skills in a continuous way, right? So, but what I would suggest is, if you've had that gap and you've not done anything, please be honest about it. Tell them, say, due to certain reasons, don't lie, because they have a way of finding out the truth, right? Don't lie. Tell them the truth. Because of these reasons, I had to take a gap in my career, right? However, please, you should have made sure that you have learned something in that time gap, right? You couldn't have just sat without doing anything. So what did you learn? What skills have you gained? Put that down in your resume. And remember, resume only needs to be 1 page, right? So with that, guys, thank you so much for your time. I have overshot by about 10 minutes. So thank you so much. Take care. Wish you all the best. Bye-bye. Please remember, you can get it on AI Spry, those of you who are part of 360. Interview skills and questions are up on AI Spry. So answer those questions and you will get your help. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.